Okay, getting into some live play here. This was a previously recorded session that I played. I had problems with the audio, so I'm now doing a voiceover over this session. So this should be quite fun to figure out. It's probably going to be pretty awkward, but it's fine. Yeah, so I haven't made a video in quite a long time. Apologize for the hiatus. Life kind of got the better of me there for a while, but I digress. But yeah, we're back to grinding. For this video, we're playing 2 tables of 200 rush and cash on GG Poker. Only going to play this format for the video. I don't play a lot of GG Poker, period, simply because of the rake structure. And I suggest that you do not play rush and cash on GG, and you focus on table selection. So I won't really talk about any of the very mundane, albeit boring pre-flop stuff. Table 2, kind of a standard c-bet with second pair and some good blockers with my 7 and jack, blocking some straight draws and flush draws. Yeah, on the turn, my range checks quite often, and I think this hand just makes pretty much a natural check. And then on the river, I don't really see a reason to bet. Facing a bet, I have to decide between calling, folding, and raising, obviously. I think in this spot I would be inclined to... I guess I could sometimes call, but it seems really marginal unblocking backdoor flush draws and having multiple straight draw blockers in my hand. But yeah, turning my hand into a bluff on the river definitely seems like an option, at least at some frequency. But we did not have to worry about making a decision there. Yeah, so if you notice, I deleted all of my previous videos. I tried to do not even really try, to be honest. I was going to do a couple bankroll challenges just for fun, but then I kind of decided against it, and, I thought more about what my goals are with this channel, right? And it's actually to have a long-standing community and make videos for a long time, hopefully. And, is my goal really to do some silly $20,000, $30,000 bankroll challenge? No, my goal is to make it to the highest stakes online playing poker. So I'm going to place my content around that more often. I plan to do at least one live play video like this per week, as well as, a weekly update with results and graphs and all that fun stuff. Everyone loves good graphs, right? I'll try to mix in a live play here and there when I feel like it, but honestly, just doing a live recording, like playing and talking at the same time, is quite challenging for me. Even this voiceover is pretty difficult. So table 2, pretty standard call. We're kind of unhappy to see a very large lead on a paired board, obviously, but yeah, we can't do anything else. Double barrel, have a very, very easy call here. We've got a few clean outs, even if we're drawing against a boat. He should check range very often on the ace, and he does, and I don't really think we have a lot of value here. And he just plays kind of the super nuts in an interesting way. Table 1, 2 9s and an ace. I think it's okay to just go ahead and fire here. Pretty good blockers, and the king's very good for us as well on the turn, of course. Couple standard folds here. So I think rushing cash 2 tables is a pretty nice format for live play videos and streaming, just because you get a ton of hands in, a ton of action in a short amount of time. Jack, 8, 9. Yeah, I think it's a good open. Obviously, Jack, 10, open pure. I think 8, 9 from early position might be close. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, so it looks like I screenshot it because I wasn't 100% sure of this open. It's probably fine, but... table 1, I do believe we can do some leading on this board texture. I think with the 2 jacks and the jack of clubs in my hand, it makes kind of a natural just check. Sometimes check call, sometimes check raise, depending on sizing, things of that nature. Yeah, on the turn, once he checks back, I mean, yeah, I generally just want to start building a pot here. I think the hands that I want to check will be more hands that crush the board more, and I can go for check raises. Like 9x plus a straight draw type hands. I think that's more like my natural check raising range on the turn. Yeah, loose call here on table 1. It's fine versus cutoff, I believe, especially cutoff being a weaker player. Table 2, pretty easy raise call from these positions. And again, we definitely have some donks on this board, but without a single backdoor flush draw on table 2, I think my hand just makes a very natural check in order to check raise, of course. And yeah, when they bet super large like this, it's pretty nice because they're incredibly polar. Obviously, like versus population, they probably always have it, like a hand like this, right? Where they have like, nut clubs quite often, kings with clubs, etc. Hands that we don't absolutely crush in terms of equity, but I still think I'm just handcuffed here for the times that he has like, a pair plus weaker straight draw, which is often enough. Table 1, yeah, I mean, versus a lead and a call. I mean, yeah, it's tempting to kind of float here, but I mean, what are we hoping for, right? We hit our straight on the turn, and we could be drawing dead. It's like 8 high, 9 high straights, obviously. So I think it's kind of a trivial fold. You could argue it's tightish, but obviously I think it's fine. Table 1, easy defend. Interesting board. We flop middle pair, plus a backdoor straight draw and a straight draw blocker. Yeah, so I'm not sure about this. I do remember in game we go for the raise here. I think with 2 backdoor flush draws, it becomes much more an attractive option. And yeah, I'm screenshotting here because I'm just not sure. But we do go for the raise. I do think this is a board that population can c-bet reasonably aggressive, obviously. But I do think it's massively over c-bet. I think people just blindly c-bet those ace-high, dry boards with 2 low cards when you kind of can't do that, basically. So yeah, I kind of like my combo for a check raise there. Not sure if it's solver approved though. Generally, we want to have a lot more like immediate equity type holdings, like a gutter, but I think it's going to make the cut. Yeah, table 2 facing a lead versus a guy who's playing incredibly wide and loose. I just pure raise this. I don't think I ever trapped this here. Just pushing way too much equity against a guy who's probably likes his hand, right, and just wants to not fold it and stick some money in. Yeah, cool. So we have the dream spot. And yeah, just stick it in. Very good there. King Jack 10 deuce here. Bomb pot. 10 big blinds in the middle dead. Probably gonna limp, over limp behind here. Yeah, that's what I do. Flop dust. So nothing to say here. It's going to be check folding our hand. So sad this audio didn't work out. Has some good music playing in the background, at least what I deem good music. It's also annoying too. Obviously it's probably user error, but I can't really figure out how to pause the video and voice record over it. I use Camtasia, so I'm not super familiar with that software. It's kind of, I think it's a standard open on table 1. We don't love having the 6, but I do think it's standard. Yeah, table 1, ace high boards, we can just size down a lot. I think technically if you give solver 1/3, they prefer to bet 1/3. But yeah, I just use 1/2. I think it's fine. Easy check on the turn. And yeah, checking back river here, I think it's pretty thin to bet. People just play like absolute vaginas, like their entire range from my experience. Like they're super polar in these spots. They're either check calling with like weakest, bluff catchers obviously, are check raising. They're nuts, and almost pure check raising. They're nuts from my experience. So against like a super polarized range, um, a range that doesn't lead river nearly as often as they should, yeah, betting thinly for value is not a great option in my opinion. Yeah, table one, pretty standard check back for me. Have a very disguised hand on multiple turns, and yeah, we really don't want to get check raised, drawing to the nut gut shot and having a flush draw, of course. Easy call on the turn, and we being pretty much the Dream River here. And yeah, I think I don't have any small sizes on this river. When I'm betting like, yeah, like 10-8 plus a pair blocker plus, obviously, full houses. So I don't think, and I'm going to have loads of bluffs here for sure. So I think only a large sizing is appropriate. I guess you can have small and big in any spot, really, if you really think about ranges in the entire game tree. So I guess like maybe half pot makes sense there for certain holdings. Like maybe I want to bet the second nut straight with a pair blocker or something like that occasionally. It's pretty thin, but like obviously I have to bet 10-8. And like what do I do with 10-8, like the nut straight with no pair blocker? I mean, I do believe I certainly have to bet. So, but I think all those holdings can just go into the pot sizing. So yeah, just check folding table two, of course. So yeah, I mean the games definitely seem very, very good, but again, I mean beating the rake is most likely going to be very hard, very tall order, I would assume. My main stakes I'm playing right now are 500 anyway, so again, I'm just playing these stakes for the video. I'll probably mix around stakes just for viewer content, hit every stake that you guys are watching or playing, even down to micro stakes. I think it's a pretty good idea. Table two, it folds to us. I think I'll go for an open. It's pretty loose, but I think it's all right. Yeah, it looks like I go for it. I guess with two short stacks to my immediate left, yeah, maybe my open's actually really bad. Um, but yeah, I mean the short stacks. It's not like they're professional short stacks are. I would highly doubt they are. Like they're not three betting and four betting as aggressively as they should be. They basically just wait until they have premiums, from my experience, and then when you're dealing with players like that aren't aggressive enough, yeah, I tend to be a little bit looser pre-flop. Yeah, table two. Yeah, I remember thinking about this. I'm not sure if I can overcall here in the cutoff. So yeah, it looks like I marked it. But we go for it. It might just be standard, but having the three seems pretty bad, to be honest. But again, in a game structure, like if I was on the button, this is a cold call all day long. I'm pretty certain about that. Um, but yeah, again, in a game structure where you're not expecting people to squeeze wide enough, I think this call is just fine, even with a very, very short stack on the button who should squeeze very, very aggressively. I just don't think they're finding the appropriate ranges of squeezing. So, yeah, I think it's as simple as me saying I just don't think I get punished enough, which may not be a really good reason to still defend it. But yeah, that was my thought process in game. I'm pretty sure. So you have the Jack 10, 9, 6. Yeah, we just have an easy fold versus an open. I was going to say there's 3 short stacks to my left, so I was debating on opening or not. So a big bomb pot on table 2, 20 big blinds. So definitely want to get in here with some looser than average ranges for sure, if possible. The 10-8 deuce, it's pretty bad, especially from small blind. But I think versus 3 big blinds, I would actually go ahead and call. But yeah, it looks like we don't have much of a decision. Just have to fold that, I think. I'd be curious to see what our range looks like. The effect, it's like 5 big blinds effective with 20 big blinds in the middle, being 100 big blinds deep, of course. So kind of curious how light we can just stick money in there pre-flop. But I don't think 10-8, 7 deuce single is going to cut it. So I think I remember this hand on table 1. I think it's pretty interesting and maybe just too darn thin. Maybe just a bad play by me. I don't think it could be bad. Certainly not terrible, but anyways, we open, we get called. Go for a half pot. C-bet. And I remember he raises like super small. Yeah, like incredibly small, giving me direct odds, I believe, just to hit my gut shot, as well as my 7. I believe my 7 is live as well, and we have a backdoor flush draw, not a good one, but yeah, I think people just play face up on turns enough as well, like turns and rivers, where we can just call this profitably, in my opinion, although it's obviously close. And yeah, once we call flop on this turn, we just have to, we just have to start piling, I guess. Obviously, I'd rather have a spade, but you can't have everything in this world. You just gotta bet and pray. And then we hit the river, so now it's a question of, when I bet, like, do I ever have a small sizing? The answer is no. I only check or pot in this spot. So it's just a question of, is potting this hand too thin? And I thought in game it's very, very close. You can see me timing here. I'm basically trying to get called by ace king with some type of straight draw blocker, obviously. But I decided the fact that this guy seems like a very loose, splashy, weaker player. I think there's too much of a chance where he will pay off with a random ace king or ace deuce or king deuce, like whatever random 2 pair he has. So I do go 3 streets, or I do bet the river there for value, and I'm not sure if it's too thin. I don't think it could be that bad. I had in the back of my head as well. I guess like not really during the play. That's a value bet, obviously. But then after the fact, I thought about the spot a little more, and it's kind of funny because if you think about it, like, it's certainly possible where there is a world where he folds a better hand, like whatever, slow played, like aces that he didn't 3-bet pre with, and then kings, obviously the main hand you're worried about beating you with the line taken is kings, right? Because he didn't 3-bet pre, check raise flop, etc. So I think there is a world where he actually does fold like king with no straight draw blocker, right? So it's kind of, obviously that's not that's not why I'm betting. That's not a good way to think about the spot, but I guess it's worth noting and mentioning. I do think that happens occasionally. Kind of like an almost like a free roll bet, even though it's kind of like retarded thought process. Table 2, pretty easy call. Kind of interesting. I think that this board's certainly leadable with this combination of mine. 2 backdoor straight draws blocking the nut straight. But I think versus 3 players and not having an 8 in my hand, I think it's a little bit too ambitious. So table 1, pretty cool spot. We squeeze. And on 10-9-3 two-tone, we're actually going to be having to do a lot of checking with our range if you really think about it. A lot of aces that totally whip the flop. This board's incredibly draw heavy. So I was actually thinking in game, I either, I can do whatever I want here with this combination, like half pot, or just check. Actually, I think, when I bet a board like this, I only check or pot, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I really do a lot of half potting. But yeah, like checking here seems just like a natural trap. Kind of for obvious reasons. It's just a really nice spot to balance our checking range, and we can obviously continue on any turn. And I think by I think it's a huge mistake when people don't even remotely think about trapping spots like this. Because think about, like, when I shove, right, it looks incredibly strong, and generally my range is going to be pretty strong. And then, it kind of, in a way, makes life a little bit easier on first to act because he's sandwiched between um, me and the button. And then, kind of conversely, like the same thing with the button, right? Like if I jam and first to act behind me, like also goes with his hand, the button could easily and should fold a hand like he had, like whatever it was, like an overpair with a weak flush draw. So, yeah, kind of basically a dream spot for us. We get it in good and we hold, which is nice. But yeah, it's definitely a node where I see a lot of players just screw up. Like population, from my experience, will just shove their hand pure, shove that hand pure basically, because they don't want the flop to check through and blah 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 blah. And like, there's some merit behind that, but not really, because you simply have to take the most plus EV line, and I believe I found it in that scenario. And even if you want to go the exploit route and understand that population does not stab enough, and they're pretty tight, and they really like to realize equity in position a lot. I mean, still, we have a hand that just completely crushes and can continue on any turn. So pretty easy overcall here, table one. And facing a full pot size bet from EP multi-way. It's pretty funny. But yeah, we just have an easy fold, of course. I say it's funny just because it's just not a good strategy, in my opinion. Like, what kind of bluffs are you using full pot sizing for when you're EP versus two other players being out of position versus one? Very hard to find bluffs, so when you play your range that way, it just makes it incredibly easy for people to just. I mean, the spot's kind of as simple as fold. I'll just fold my garbage hands and I'll just play pure equity base and pure equity driven. Like, I don't have to make any tough decisions, if that makes sense. So yeah, table one, go for the check back. Don't really have any good blockers. If you check turn, obviously I would be starting to get aggressive with my combination. Yeah, table two is just going to be too weak, I believe, here. Actually, it might be close. Jack 10 9, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can open. Jack 10 8 probably can open. Actually, it might have been bad fold. It's got to be close though. Yeah, easy three bet here. If I had one more short stack, a very short stack, like 30 BBs or less at the table, and yeah, that's what I was looking at. That could potentially squeeze. This might be a really, really awesome spot to trap. But yeah, as played, we just go ahead and c-bet flop, of course. Table two, easy to defend. Out of position should be checking this board very, very often. I'm not sure if he bets at all in solver land. And yeah, so not only does he find a bet, but he bets large, which is pretty hilarious. Pretty poor play, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, kind of like this similar spot, right? Where I could just simply play back with hands that have higher equity and better removal. Like, this hand is like tempting to kind of get creative with, I guess, with a straight draw blocker, drawing to the nut straight, etc. But I just don't know if it is a good play because it's just not necessary. Generally, when people bet boards, c-bet boards, they have no business c-betting, especially when they take a large sizing. They generally have it, or they have some type of hand that can fight back with some type of blocking combination. Um, and then, yeah, obviously they'll have dusts from time to time, of course. But I think overall their range is just stronger than it should be. which makes me less inclined to fight back. So when this guy limps on table 1, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to start leading my hand. I don't have any pair blockers. And I'm seeing a lot of turns and rivers don't really, this hand really doesn't love it. So if I could take it down on the flop, that's somewhat ideal. Yeah, on this card, my range checks quite often, and this combination makes a natural check. When he checks back, I would like to see myself go for full pot here, trying to get value from some 8x combinations, and just knowing my own range, I'll just have loads of bluffs here. Maybe not loads, but I'll definitely have enough. Table 1, yeah, we peel here. This might be like close. Not even sure if it's a. I'm not even sure from these positions. I think it is. I think it's fine. It's probably me just being nitty. Totally brick table 2. There's nothing much we can do about it. Yeah, easy check table 1 here, I think. In position bets 1/3, which is pretty sweet. Giving us incredible odds on our hand, of course. No reason to do anything but call. I definitely have some leads on this turn, but this hand combination will not make it in there. And yeah, on the river, I mean, obviously the ace high flush draw makes a non-natural bluffing candidate for obvious reasons. And yeah, I mean, I don't block any of like the 8x or flop 2 pair set type hands. So yeah, it doesn't really make sense for me to bluff this.